Hello, this is JilliBling. How are you? As promised, here is an envelope for a slimline card. So I have some tear and tape right here, but look how nicely this card fits into there. So I would like to make one of these today. So this is a new die set from the mini catalog. And it also has these. We'll be using these. But today I want to focus mostly on the envelope. Not that it's hard, but sometimes you just don't want to see the card. You just want, how do I make that envelope? So here is paper for this little flap. Tear tape, one sheet of basic white paper, and I have my little template. So let's start with the little flap. The little flap, smoky slate, where's my sample? Right here. I want to stamp on the flap this floral stamp, and you could put anything on here, anything at all. But this matches the card, so I want to use the same stamp. Just a couple. Then, see how this has a fancy cut? The die set comes with two different ones. This one was used for here with the stitching on it, so I want to use this one. So you want the fancy edge down as low close to the edge as possible. If you had it up here, you would have a tiny little flap, and that would be discarded. So put it right here, and it's going to need some trimming. So if it isn't exactly centered, this amount from that amount, it's okay. So we're going to run that through. So here is the other flap. So to make the envelope, tear tape, oh, I have stuff all over here. Here is my cutter scorer, and if you don't have one of these, this is a good thing to get. I've been using it more and more lately. I use my Simply Scored all the time, but I'm using this more and more. So these areas, that's going to be cut off. The solid lines are where to cut. And if you're like, oh, you went a little crooked, that's on purpose. This little wedge out of here, and I'll show you why. So we're going to start out by scoring at 2.5 inches. Scoring at 6.5, 2.5, and I'm looking right up here. Score, and 6.5, and I'll put a picture of this on my blog, and my blog is JilliBling.com. 6.5. You see this over here? See, 2.5, 6.5. I'm going to turn it, score at 1.5 and 10.5. 1.5. I should put it up here. Just have some dirty stamps over there. Okay, 1.5 and 10.5. And I'm looking way over here. Okay, so now it's time for cutting out these 4 pieces. So you can take your snips and find your score lines and cut, or you could do it on your cutter, which is right here. Let me try both ways. So there's one of them gone. This is the 10.5 right there. So take the cutter, and I'm going to go right down to the score line. And then this was 1.5. So I'll go from here down to the score line. And then same from the other direction. I'm going to go right up to the score line here. Okay, 2.5. Right to that score line. Actually, it's a cut line now. And then here on the bottom, right up to the cut line. And I'm fine if it's not all the way out. I'll just use my little snips to trim it. Then one more. So this should be 6.5. Looking right up here. And then I'm going to cut it right up to this cut line, score line. Okay, so that's all that this tool is needed for. So I have these chunks taken out of here. But remember when I was showing you the template, how I have this little angle right there? I'll show you why I have that. First of all, the one on the bottom is covered, but see this little folded over edge? If I did not do my little angled cuts, this would not go down. Once I start to folding this, you'll go, ah, that's what you're talking about. So from right here, and I'm going to go in, what is that, like a 32nd of an inch? Just a little bit, keep going. And if you happen to go in and cut more, that's okay. So right here, like if it happens to be an 1/8 of an inch, it's fine. It's all going to be hid right underneath here. Let me do the same up here, and I'll show you why I'm doing that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just a little bit. Okay, all those pieces. So I'm going to take my, kind of fold it with my hand. Then take my bone folder to confirm the folds. This is going to be the top flap going down. So if I didn't take all those little wedges out, they would be right here to where the crease is, and this little bottom flap would not go in any further. That one you could barely tell that there's a little bit of a difference from where the crease line is, and that's because of that little angle. Okay, so on this back piece right here, one piece is bigger than the other. If you have the big piece go down first, the little piece go on top of it, the seam is perfectly in the middle. So we can put tear tape on that. I guess you could use regular glue, but the last thing we want is for it to fall apart. It's going to go right onto here. Oop, I think I hear Tony come home. There's going to be noise, because that's just how it is. The dog isn't barking. He'll be talking loud. Okay, tear tape. That's good. Okay, now this piece is just going to flip right up here. So I'll put adhesive, and on my little template, I say tear tape here on the little side, tear tape right here, which is where we're doing it, and then at the top. And like I said, I'll put a picture on my blog, so you could just have that picture up, you could save the picture, and you can reproduce the template or just make your one card envelope. Slimline cards are all the rage right now. Okay, so we have an envelope. But this part right here, I'm going to put it right up against this seam. And then with my scissors, I'm going to trim following this coral paper. So I'll use this liquid glue, get it right up at the edge. And you know what, I know I'm going to cut some of these off. I probably shouldn't put so much glue there, but that's okay. And then put this on and have it centered, and then I'll trim it. Hello, I knew you were coming home. Okay. So it'll go centered right here on the back flap, and maybe down just a little bit from the crease. And here's the place where you can really have it centered. Because remember when we put the die on it, I said it's okay because you can adjust it. I did it a little bit off. So what I was looking at is, I'm not sure what's best for you to see it. So see this little lip right in there? It's just a little bit different from this side. And I'm going to trim off that, trim off this, and then follow along the coral paper and trim it right there. So it has a fancy edge. Yep, there's the glue. The glue. Okay. Okay. Glue, glue. And then this piece right here, right along the coral fancy edge. And if it isn't cut perfectly, that's okay, like if you see just hints of white showing through, because when you close the flap, it goes on the card base, which is white. So you could see a little bit of the white there, but once you close it like this, because it goes right onto white paper, you can't see white on white. Okay, and I'm going to put a piece of tear tape right here, just for the person giving the card. They'll have something to close it. And I'm just going to leave that like that. I'm not going to stick it closed. So just a little bit of decorations to go with the card. So this is using stamp set hand penned, and that was what was used for right here. This, and then also on the card, I did that in smoky slate. So I'm going to put just a little bit down here at the bottom of the card with that same stamp. Just like that. And if you want, you could take time to use a blender pen and the ink pads to color it in, which is what I did here, or you could just leave it plain smoky slate, and that looks really good too. So that is it for making a slimline card. Like I said, I'll put the template, a picture of it on my blog, and my blog is JilliBling.com. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye.